Hello and welcome to Salty About Health. My name is Dalaney Algier, and I'm here with my mom and co-host, Mary. So, Mom, why are we salty about health?
Good question. It's because both of us have had struggles, some more serious than others, and no one showed us simple ways we could jump into the driver's seat and take control.
And why are we sharing our views with our listeners?
Well, because we want our listeners to realize that it may take time, but with some simple knowledge about health, they'll be able to make a few changes and dig deeper to take control of their well being and live a more vibrant life.
That's fantastic. But right now, before we get into all of that, we just need to do some housekeeping. Here we go. This is an opinion based podcast. This is not in any way offered as a diagnosis or treatment for any disease, illness, or infirmity for physical or mental condition or any other condition you may have. We are not doctors or practitioners of any kind. Persons needing medical care should obtain it from a medical practitioner. So, consult your practitioner before making any health decision. The opinions offered here in this podcast are ours alone. Again, we're not doctors, and the banter you're going to be listening to is our view and our view alone. Okay, that's done. We, of course, also want to have an open dialogue with our listeners. So stay tuned to the end of the episode, and we'll let you know all of the ways that we can connect. Welcome, everyone, to episode number 3, numero tres, number drei, if you're in German. Anyways, today we're going to talk about how important your thoughts are for maintaining health. Did you know that what you think, feel, and experience in your mind and in your heart manifests in your physical body? Who would have thought?
Right? Isn't that crazy to think your thoughts could have any effect on your health? Well, they can.
Okay, so what is a thought and where does it come from, Madre?
Okay, this is a quick answer and it makes my head spin. So I'll only say it once and then we'll move on. So the human brain is composed of about 100 billion nerve cells, neurons, interconnected by trillions of connections called synapses. On average, each connection transmits about 1 signal per second. Some specialized connections send up to 1,000 signals per second. So somehow that's producing thought, says Charles Jennings, director of neurotechnology at the MIT McGovern Institute for Brain Research.
Oh, that's cool. I've been near MIT's campus. Is there any other cool facts?
Yes, let's start with why thoughts matter when it comes to your health. The following is from the author of The Biology of Belief, Bruce Lipton. The cells in your body are maintained by your blood. The brain is the regulatory organ that regulates and maintains the chemical composition of the blood. The brain's control of the blood's chemistry is linked to our perceptions, which is in our mind, and emotions. So when you have a perception of love, the brain releases oxytocin, serotonin, and growth hormone, all chemicals that, when added to cells in a culture dish, will enhance growth and health of the cells. So in contrast, when a person is in fear, their brain releases stress hormones, which are cortisol, norepinephrine, and histamine. And that shuts down a cell's growth process and inhibits the immune system. The average person has about 50,000 thoughts each day, and each thought influences the chemical messengers in your brain and how your body functions. That means your thoughts are a part of your illness and your wellness.
Wow, that's pretty crazy that your thoughts can change your blood chemistry. I think there's a saying where they say you can think yourself better or whatever. Think good thoughts to bring up your mood. I didn't realize it had that big of an effect on it. How else can it change your health?
So that is true. And it is interesting how our mind can actually stand in the way of vibrant physical health. A quote by Bernie Siegel, who's an MD, from his book Love, Medicine, and Miracles. He says the simple truth is happy people generally don't get sick. One's attitude toward oneself is the single most important factor in healing or staying well. Those who are at peace with themselves and their immediate surroundings have far fewer serious illnesses than those who are not. That's pretty amazing.
Is that how you get like if you're a hypochondriac, there's actually is that you're afraid of everything, or do you think you get sick from everything?
Oh, that you could get sick. So yeah, so if someone says, let's say you had someone over for dinner and then you talk to them the next day and they said, "Oh, I'm not feeling well for whatever reason." Then a lot of times the person who called them goes, "Oh, I'm not feeling well now either." So yeah, that can happen.
Okay.
Definitely.
Wow. That's crazy. Do you have any examples of how people can change their health just by their thought process?
I do. Again, we can probably think of some on our own,
Mhm.
people going through a hard time, whatever, and just the people who are just positive thinkers seem to get through things better. But there is a Dr. Joe Dispenza. He has a great story, and you can view it on YouTube. And he talks about how he was in a triathlon and got hit by a vehicle,
Oh my gosh.
and it broke 6 vertebrae in his spine. So, as he put it, he got in touch with the intelligence and consciousness inside him. As he wasn't going anywhere, he was laid up in bed and
Yikes.
they told him he wasn't going to walk again. So, he started connecting to it, to this consciousness, and giving it a plan and template of design. He surrendered it to his greater mind. Okay, so 6.5 weeks of hell, as he put it, he realized he was focusing on what he didn't want to happen because they told him, you're going to be in a wheelchair, you're not going to be able to walk. And I think he was a chiropractor at the time. I know he is now. So he kept thinking about what he didn't want to happen. He wasn't focusing on getting well and positive things. So he was just thinking, I think in his interview, he says the coolest wheelchair he could get. So after 6.5 weeks of being thwarted from his positive thoughts, he finally started reconstructing his spinal cord in his mind with no interruptions or negative thoughts, which he said it took a long time because, you start thinking about things and then you start thinking about, what you're going to have to eat today, when so-and-so is coming over.
Or you're like, if I start thinking about something really deep, I'm like, oh, like I have an itch on my arm. Oh, like I need to sneeze. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. So it took him about 6.5 weeks to where he could get through this without any interruptions of reconstructing his mind. And it took about 3 hours in the beginning when he started doing this. And then he said, just things started to click. He stayed focused. So then things started changing swiftly. And he got his visualization down to only 45 minutes of reconstructing his spine. So his pain levels dropped and he started feeling better. And his body started healing.
Wow.
He was back. I know. This is amazing. All the doctors told him, you're never going to walk again, blah, blah, blah. And he was back on his feet in 10.5 weeks.
Wow.
It is amazing. You should really go look at his story. And he actually started training again in 12 weeks. That's training after he just did this to his spine. Well, he got hit by a car.
For the triathlon, he started training? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I was, I guess, a collegiate athlete at Division III, like nothing crazy. But I remember having a talk with one of the coaches on campus. And she was awesome. She actually now works with Marines and helps them with their mental health because of all the crazy stuff they have to do. But she started with my school, and this has been with me forever. And what she talked about was how your brain doesn't hear negatives. So people always, oh, like, don't mess up. And for me, for volleyball, it was, oh, don't serve into the net. Like, oh, don't do this, saying that to yourself. And she's like, all your brain hears is, okay, serve into the net. So that's, I think, another reason why negative thoughts can be so bad, because He was saying, "Oh, I don't want this to happen. I don't," and that was probably starting to happen because your brain is just like, "Okay, well, that's gonna happen now."
Yes, exactly. That's a perfect example. And we need to flip the negative when we have it. There are so many stories of positive thought and healing, especially about cancer. And some people have even spontaneously healed their cancer just by getting out of a negative relationship or situation.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And I think the key is to start every morning with a positive thought and to visualize yourself well and happy. If we were doing this video, I would demonstrate the muscle test that I show a lot of people. And there was a patient that came in the office the other day and they just had a lot of negative talk. So I took her aside and I did the muscle test that I do on a lot of people where, I showed her how she had a strong muscle. And then I told her to think of something negative or not going well in her life.
Mhm.
And she couldn't even I could have put her arm down with one finger.
Yeah.
That had such an effect on her. She went out of the office in tears and she thanked me and
Oh.
said, thank you for showing me that. I had no idea how our thoughts could affect our bodies.
Yeah, because a lot of people, I think, nowadays, "Oh, well, I'm not diagnosed with something, so I'm fine." But no, like, even just the littlest thoughts about yourself that just tear yourself down aren't helping. Like, that's not good. It's always good to be an advocate for yourself, I guess.
You do. You have to be. And it would be great if everybody, the first thoughts in their head in the morning would just be, it's going to be a fantastic day. I'm well and healthy, and there's nothing that's going to bring me down kind of attitude.
Mhm.
And I know we go through bad things and bad things happen to us, but, and I'm not saying nobody should be sad. Obviously, if you lose a relative or a loved one, it's rough.
And isn't it like also what I've heard, I don't know if it's true, but releasing stress is a good thing too. So like they're always like, "Oh, you shouldn't cry," but actually like crying is very therapeutic and it's getting it out of your system as well as getting that negativity out.
Well, it's very cathartic, yes. And we're going to talk about stress at the end, but they have done lots of studies on people who do better in marriages, and they're the ones who, I don't want to say fight like physically, but they argue. There you go. They argue and they get their feelings out. When you're with a partner that does not do that, you're not going to last. It won't last, they say, because it's natural to do that. But you also need to know how to then deal with that. But it's good, like you said, to get your emotions out,
Okay.
but also we need to keep in check our emotions. And again, that's where I always go back to food. A whole food diet comes in. If you're an emotional wreck, there's probably other reasons
Yeah, what episode was that? Whole Foods is episode 2, right?
too. I think so.
Everyone go back and listen to that.
Yeah, I mean, foods do have an effect on your mood, etc. Those are things we can address in other episodes.
We were talking about how negative stuff we can kind of twist it, but are there negative effects to your body that negative thinking can produce?
Yeah. So
Okay.
obviously, if positive thinking can heal, then negative thinking can harm you. So we're going to combine negative thinking and stress here because I think negative thinking creates a huge amount of stress on the body. And we really have to get control of our thoughts. So, studies have found many health problems related to stress. And in fact, you see it in the media now. The media's picked up on it. And I think they all say stress is a number one killer.
Yeah, even my work has like a mental health awareness month and I think they talk about the things that you're going to point out and how you need to, meditate or take a break at work and be by yourself just for mental health reasons.
Oh, yeah. And I use breathing. And at the end, we'll
Mhm.
get into that too. I think that's wonderful. A lot of companies are doing that now. I know when I coach with clients, the hardest thing is to get them out of that negative thought process. Very, very hard. And I think just as simple things that you can do to just flip that. And once you're willing to try, people are amazed at how their lives can change and turn around. So stress seems to worsen or increase the risk of conditions like obesity, heart disease, Alzheimer's, diabetes, depression, gastrointestinal problems, and asthma. So I just grabbed this off WebMD, and really quickly we can go through. It says heart disease. Doctors do know that sudden emotional stress can be a trigger for serious cardiac problems, including heart attack. So for asthma, many studies have shown that stress can worsen asthma. Some evidence suggests that a parent's chronic stress might even increase the risk of developing asthma in children.
Oh, wow. So because your parent is stressed out, you start having asthma attacks?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Is it your genes? Is it environment? That's a big discussion in psychology. And, I think it's a little both. But sure, it's kind of like a child if you came home every day and your parents.
It's like your stress is creating secondhand smoke.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect example.
That's scary because it's hard to be happy around your kids all the time because they can be your stressor.
That's funny. I think I was pretty happy.
Oh, yeah. I don't have asthmas.
Well, again, we can trace that back to food.
Oh, yeah. I had food-induced asthma, but we're good now. But yeah, it wasn't from my environment.
But I firmly believe, yeah, you shouldn't put those toxic whatever on your children. But then I taught child development in junior college before I even had children. So you were fortunate.
Yes, and then you taught it to me at a very young age.
Yeah. So, I mean, you came in the world, I already knew how to be a great parent. There you go.
Everyone's just like, yeah.
I think you had a pretty great childhood. You hit 18, you were on your own. I'm like, woohoo.
That is also true. I got off your health insurance, as they say in New England, wicked fast.
Well, I don't think that was at 18 though, because you were still a college student.
True, but it was right after college. Most people like hang on until that 25, 26 threshold. No.
Well, I was thinking more like I wasn't responsible for your actions anymore, because at 18, and under 18, if you did something wrong, guess who got in trouble?
Yes.
Where at 18 and above, you were an adult. So I could say, well, Dalaney, I guess you have to pay the consequences.
This is great. I was watching sidetrack. I was watching a movie with a friend last night, and it's the kid. I don't know if I'm allowed to like say movie names and stuff on podcasts, but anyways, everyone would know this. The kid was like 22 and still in high school, and Emma Stone may be the main character of this movie, but he's at the hospital because he got gonorrhea from his counselor that he was sleeping with, and his mom just hits him upside the head and she's like, who are you sleeping with? And I was like, oh my gosh, that's like how my mom would react to me if I had any issues nowadays. She'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Why wasn't that person tested before you slept with them?
So that's great.
Health department, $5, get the guy tested. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
So, okay, let's get back on track. We have obesity. So excess fat in the belly seems to pose greater health risks than fat on the legs or hips. And unfortunately, that's just where people with high stress seem to store it. So then we have diabetes. Stress can worsen diabetes in two ways. First, it increases the likelihood of bad behaviors, such as unhealthy eating and excessive drinking. And second, stress seems to raise the glucose levels of people with type 2 diabetes directly. Yeah, I just read another article on that today, how stress does that. Headaches. Okay, stress is considered one of the most common triggers for headaches.
Mm-hmm.
Depression and anxiety. It's probably no surprise that chronic stress is connected with higher rates of depression and anxiety. One survey of recent studies found that people who had stress related to their jobs, like demanding work with few rewards, had an 80% higher risk of developing depression within a few years than people with lower stress. So if you don't like your job, I know that sometimes we can't do anything about that, but we need to find other things then to enjoy in our lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Gastrointestinal problems. Stress is a common factor in many GI conditions, such as chronic heartburn, GERD, and IBS. and accelerated aging. So there's actually evidence that stress can affect how you age. One study compared the DNA of mothers who were under high stress. They were caring for a chronically ill child with women who were not. And researchers found that a particular region of the chromosomes showed the effects of accelerated aging. So stress seemed to accelerate aging about 9 to 17 additional years.
What? That's like basically 10 to 20. That is ridiculous. That's so much.
Yeah. Stress is not good. As they always talk about people, the presidents of the United States, how they always go in without gray hair and then they come out with gray hair. So you see that a lot. So premature death is also a study looked at the health effects of stress by studying elderly caregivers looking after their spouses. And it found that caregivers had a 63% higher rate of death than people their age who were not caregivers.
Wow. That sucks. That just sucks because, especially if it's your spouse or something, you're not going to not care for them just because you want to live longer. So,
Well, I don't think, I mean, there's, again, obviously we're under stress, and especially in our society
yeah.
today, it's a lot different from way back when. We have everything in our face, media, this, that.
Mhm.
So if you turn on the TV, there's alarming things going on there. Then you have people being able to get a hold of you 24/7 with your cell phone. So obviously, and then, we have people we need to care for. There's illness, there's tragedy, but we also need to find a way to de-stress when we're in that environment. And as you said, when you're working, it's amazing if you take 5 minutes and you just do some breathing exercises, how that flips your autonomic nervous system back into parasympathetic as opposed to sympathetic, being flight and what is it? Flight and fight.
Fight and fight.
Mm-hmm. So it's that easy, but I think we're going to get into that a little bit real soon, but a little bit later.
Okay.
So we can de-stress. That is important.
Right.
And there's many ways and teachings that I feel people need to explore this area for themselves to see what best fits them. So some people like meditation, others some kind of exercise like yoga. And I know I love breathing techniques, as I stated before. So getting good quality sleep is important. Some people journal, take a walk, you take a time out.
Mhm.
There's so many possibilities. And you need to learn to say no if you're overburdened, as it is. A lot of people, especially women, have trouble saying no, because we are the caregivers and the helpers a lot of the times. And don't procrastinate. I've worked on that. If I have to send a card or something, I just get the card and I do that, because that can produce a lot of stress, just seeing something sit there and it's not being sent out.
I heard this. Oh my gosh. My friend and I were doing like a workout video that this YMCA puts out, and the lady who was running it had a really cool thing because she was like, oh, no. So my friend was in a meeting with someone and they said something really cool. She said the way that she motivates people is to just have them do 1 rep. So this was talking about exercise, but it can apply to life, because she was like, I just tell the people who aren't motivated, who want to procrastinate, okay, well, just mentally prepare to do like 1 push-up, or go and do, like, if you're a runner, I guess, like run 1 mile, like just do something little. And then she's like, they're always really surprised when they start doing it, that they just want to continue and they want to do the whole thing. So I think that's the same with, like, you were saying, pick up a card, and you could just be like, okay, I need to go to the store, and that's like your start. And then you're like, okay, well, I have the card now, I can mail it, blah, blah, blah. But just getting started. So breaking it up in little baby steps really helps with procrastination.
I totally agree. And in my health coaching, that's what I do with clients, people, especially who don't want to do any kind of exercise or movement. And it's just getting them to maybe walk half a block or park a little further from the grocery store.
Yeah.
Things like that, just, you have to ease them into it. And then most people do realize, oh, okay, this isn't bad. I like this. So, I mean, you really need to be cognizant of your situation and decide if it is truly worth the reaction that you're giving it, and that lowers your stress too. So, and we talked about avoid food triggers, and you can listen to music, and physical intimacy is also good. If they've been doing a lot of studies on that. If people need physical intimacy, I know this is a time when we're distancing, but if you do have a partner or something, it is important to do that. If you have, kids, give your kids hugs and things like that. I know when I'm going to clean the house, I always go, I have to listen to music, and that motivates me. Then I could clean all day.
Yeah. Oh, and it's some of my favorites to put on are just like, they have like a girl power soundtrack or something ridiculous. So it's just like all these super upbeat songs by women. And that just totally gets me motivated to start cleaning.
So these tips often involve getting your mind away from the source of stress. Just practice an inner dialogue with yourself every time you feel stressed, and eventually you will do that automatically and avoid getting too worked up. Kind of like when, people cut you off in traffic or something. If a lot of people react, I know they do up where you used to live, with the finger and horn honking and all.
Yeah.
But after you've done that and you say, was that necessary? Did that help the situation? If you say that long enough to yourself, trust me, one day someone will cut you off, and as long as nobody gets hurt, you'll just let it go.
And also, if you guys really like for baby steps, so stop flipping them off. And you actually, if you give them the down thumbs, instead of thumbs up, give them a thumbs down, that people actually react more emotionally to that than the finger. So if you give them the finger, they just get mad at you. But if you do a thumbs down at them, they actually feel bad about it. That's more psychology. So I thumbs down people now.
Oh, good.
But I will eventually get to where it doesn't bother me. I live in a place where it's much more calm driving now, so that's helped.
Yes, that's a great tip. I like that. I had never heard that, so I'll have to use the thumbs down. Well, I don't. I actually just ignore everything.
Yeah.
Whatever. I just think, well, they must be in a hurry for a reason. Okay, so in the book Never Be Sick Again by Raymond Francis, it says Keys, is it Kester or Keister?
I think Keister would have an I, so that, to me, I would say Kester.
Good. Okay, cool. So Raymond Francis says that even when nutrients are scarce and toxins abundant, one's potential for health is nearly limitless, and it relies almost entirely on ourselves and the power of the mind. Thoughts and emotions have a tremendous effect on ourselves and therefore our health. What we put into our minds may be more important than what we put into our bodies. The power of the mind is the best ally in choosing to get well and stay well. You are what you think. Now, I probably have an issue with some of that. I think the basis of health is good nutrition and what you're putting in your body. But yes, then after that.
Right. You still need to feel it and it still needs to function. But I think with a lot of exercise programs and everything, there's mind over matter. It does make a difference. Your mind definitely helps.
Oh, I agree. And that's when I first started health coaching. People were like, well, just tell me what to eat, tell me what to do. Number one, I can't tell them what to eat, what to do, but I would give, suggestions, or we'd go over what a healthier lifestyle looks like. And then I found people who were eating impeccably. We did talk about parasites in, I think, episode 1. There are other factors, but what I noticed with all this is if your mind is in a bad place, even though you're exercising and eating right, you're not going to get well. So I started encompassing mind, body, spirit, and I realized how important that is in order to get well. And people sabotage themselves because, let's say, well, I don't want to get into that in this episode, but I just realized that the mind is so important. And we do exercises like if you have someone stand in front of a mirror and just look in that mirror and tell themselves, I love you, I love you, I love you. Do you know how hard that is for some people?
Yeah, that can be really hard. And depending on the day, they can be hard for me too. I think everyone has those days. That's why I like that there's a movement now to recognize mental health and how we need to, as a society, work on it. So I think it's been ignored for a while. So I think it's great that people are recognizing that it affects you. It really does affect you.
I agree. My degree is in psychology, and I always joke with people that everybody should at least get a minor in psychology. It'll make your life much better. So no, I agree. And then they've taken all the mental health institutions pretty much out of society, and it's very hard to get help for mental health issues. And then they just medicate you and send you home. So yeah, we've kind of downplayed that for a long time.
Yeah.
And it is an important part of our health, our mental health.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, so I guess to end this show, Mom, you found some cool quotes that apparently we don't know where they came from, but we like them. So let's hear them.
Okay, so yeah, we can't attribute them. So if you were the person who thought of this quote, we're sorry.
And thank you.
Yes, and thank you. That which we constantly affirm becomes true for us.
You get what you believe.
Yeah, I really like that one.
Mm-hmm.
This one we can attribute to Buddha, they say. So what you think you become, what you feel you attract, and what you imagine you create.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. That's my favorite so far. Okay. Negative thoughts can create disease.
If you are aware of your thoughts and attitudes, you can choose to change them. So I hope people got a lot out of this episode.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for listening. And again, we want to hear from you guys. We always want to hear from you guys. Please, please, please reach out to us. And here are just a few ways that you can do that. You can reach out via Instagram and Facebook. Find us at Salty About Health. Even Snapchat at Salty Health. You can email us at saltyabouthealth@gmail.com. Or if you just want to find all that in one place, check out our website, saltyabouthealth.com. We've got all the ways for you to listen and connect there. And finally, if you like what you hear today, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. We really appreciate it. So, Mom, if they want to hear from you on social media, where can they find you?
Okay, I am a certified health coach and I do coach one-on-one. So if you're interested, you can contact me at mary@feedyourselfhealthy.com. I also do research for people who are interested in finding alternative approaches to do in conjunction with the health issue or illness their doctor is treating them for. So again, just reach out to me at mary@feedyourselfhealthy.com or follow me on Twitter at feedyourselfhealthy, which is spelled FEEDURSELFHLTHY. That's where they can find me.
Cool. Okay. And if you guys want to find me, I'm not a health coach, but I'm on Instagram hanging out there at Dalaney.a. Find out how to spell my name in the show notes and everything. And of course, I'll be the one mainly keeping an eye on the social media. So always happy to chat with you guys via the Salty Network. Also, just want to shout out our intro and outro music. It is by Yule. And you can find her at www.yulearts.com. That's EULARTS. You can also find her on Instagram at Yule_arts or Spotify and YouTube. Check her out. Her piano music and everything else is amazing. And until next time, stay salty.
Stay salty.